I'm going to introduce you to a frightening problem. I'm going to share with you an opportunity to address that problem. Then I'm going to ask you for a favor. So let's get started. We're going to ask you a question to start things off. If one full wide-body jet crashed each day, every day, for the foreseeable future, would any of us fly? We all know the answer to that question is no. Yet this is precisely the number of people who will die from a hospital-associated infection each day, every day, for the foreseeable future in the United States. And the United States is better than most countries. So it's really pretty frightening. So let's put this in perspective for you. Of the 35 million people who will be admitted to a U.S. hospital each year, 1 in 20 will acquire an infection. Absolutely frightening. But more importantly, of those infected, another 1 in 20 will die. And again, this is really pretty terrible. So when we begin to approach this, this is the unknown. It's the sixth leading cause of death behind the big three: heart disease, cancer, and strokes. But most folks don't appreciate the fact that it kills more folks than HIV and breast cancer combined. Yet these two diseases are remembered and have been championed, and we have solutions that are getting better each day. So what's going on with HAIs? Well, you also have to appreciate that this accounts for approximately $45 billion additional dollars to healthcare each year. And while I have new money printed up here, this is actually old money, so we really don't know how much it really costs. So this leads me to wonder, why in an era where we can literally grow kidneys in a bottle, does a problem seemingly solved by Florence Nightingale during the latter half of the 19th century still plague us today? Well, the answer is pretty simple. It's microbes. They're everywhere. The bacteria, the fungi, they're in the air we breathe, the water we drink. They're on us, they're in us. They account for 100 trillion additional cells on and in our bodies. Next time you get on the scale in the morning, appreciate the fact that they add 1 to 3% to your body's mass. So you got lots of bacteria in you. Next time you go on a diet, think about that. They give us 4 degrees centigrade of our body's temperature. So the next time you're cold, tell the bacteria to warm things up. And for the most part, while this looks like a pretty frightening series of slides, microbes are not out to kill us. They're more friends than enemies. They provide us with vitamins, minerals. They keep us warm. They're really terrific things. They also give us such great things as cheese and pickles, and most importantly, chocolate. You know, without bacteria and fungi, there would be no chocolate. So think about that. But this is to drive home that there are a tremendous number of microbes, thousands of species. And when we look at them from the perspective of a zoo, we see that we have the equivalent of between 500 and 1,000 different types of lions and tigers and bears. And just like these top predators, when they get into the wrong location, they can wreak havoc. And that's what bacteria are all about, wreaking havoc if they get into the wrong spot. The other thing we need to appreciate is we each lose about 2 million skin cells an hour. And you're going to be here for a while, so just consider the pile that you're going to leave behind. And, you know, just like Charlie Brown's friend, Pigpen, well, after all, he's us. And the other thing is humans are a very tactile species. I mean, just imagine what you're doing. You're playing with your badge and doing other things. And we touch about up to 30 objects a minute. And medicine has taught us that over 80% of the infectious diseases are transferred by touch. Let's not forget that we also help them move, too. I mean, the average sneeze expels bacteria and viruses at a rate between 95 and 650 miles per hour. Incredible speeds. And the particles, as you can see here, are of the Goldilocks size. They're suspended, and they move from person to place to person to building. I mean, they're just everywhere. And this occurs even inside hospitals where they're spick and span and they're rigorously cleaned each day. So it's no wonder that we have a HAI rate of 1 in 20. So this led us to ask the question, does the built environment in the hospital represent a clear and present danger to patients? We know a concentration of 250 bacteria per 100 centimeters is a risk. And again, you can see that commonly touched items in the hospital room represent a clear and present danger. You don't have to be a statistician to appreciate 17,000 is well above 250. So what are we to do? Well, now I'm going to introduce you to the opportunity. Humans have benefited from copper since ancient times. After all, it was called the Bronze Age for a reason. We found this shiny rock and we fabricated it into tools, weapons, kitchen utensils like pots and pans, and coins and jewels. But then very early on, about 2600 BC, humans appreciated the fact that copper had this tremendous antimicrobial property, would kill bacteria. When you went to the well and you drew water from a river or stream or a well, and you allowed it to sit on your table, it became potable. You didn't get sick when you drank it. So this led us to ask the question, if we cheat and take an ancient technology and bring it into modern healthcare, would it actually help things out? So we place copper on common objects, the arms of the chair, the rail of the bed, the bezel around the monitor that's touched, the cardiac alarm monitor, and the overbed tray table. We asked a simple question, does it improve cleanliness? And the answer was a resounding yes. Remember the bed rail? You know, it was a big number. It's still a big number, 6,400. We dropped it down to 366 in a very short period of time. And we measured this consistently over 2 years. So it worked. So then we asked the next question. Could something so simple, we reimagined healthcare, could something so simple like this work and change the rate at which hospital-associated infections occur? And the answer was yes. Copper surfaces significantly reduce the HAI rate. We know in our study that we cut the rate 58%, which is truly remarkable. And we did this in 3 modern, very busy intensive care units in U.S. hospitals, and we found this to be the case. We know we prevented 16 infections in our 11-month study, and we know that it saved approximately $768,000 in healthcare dollars, and more importantly, from the patient's perspective, 301 days of hospitalization. For CMS, the Center for Medicare Services, tells us that one infection costs $43,000 per patient and adds 19 days of hospitalization. Truly remarkable number. So we cut infections, literally greater than half. And so I'm not a healthcare economist. I don't want to be. That's too much math. But could we simply divide 45 billion by 2 to, really help healthcare? I mean, something simple like copper, could it work? We know we saved lives, we know we prevented infections, and we know that the quality of life for people who didn't get sick was indeed better. So what's next? I went out and became an evangelist. I went and asked industry to reimagine healthcare, reimagine their product mix. And I shared with them my data. I showed them what's possible, and this is what they did. We began to ask them to do things, and they built things. They built simple things like carts, bed rails, drawer pulls, arms. We moved this so that they could actually place the copper into the environment to reduce the burden. Simple solutions, elegant solutions that indeed worked, to simple things like sinks. And finally, we came up the room, and what has actually happened is industry has reimagined healthcare, and we've reinvented what's next. So finally, this is where I ask you for the favor. Other catastrophic diseases have symbols that have mobilized the research community, mobilized industry. HIV, of course, has the red ribbon, breast cancer, the pink. So what should the symbol for HAIs be to help remember the forgotten victims? What should it be? Well, my hometown paper, the Post and Courier, ran this cute story before we had these compelling data. Mr. Lincoln with a mask, introducing the whole issue of copper. So in 2009, the U.S. Mint reimagined our penny. And on the obverse, you'll see E pluribus unum, one out of many. So the favor that I'm going to ask of you is on the back of your cards, you'll see a new Lincoln cent with the shield that says E pluribus unum. So the next time you rummage around in your pocket or purse and encounter a penny, my charge is for you to remember the forgotten victims of HAIs and tell someone about this interesting story and help us reinvent healthcare. Thank you.